Alrighty there, new technology of World War I. First thing we're going to talk about is the machine gun. Now, the machine gun is going to be significant and important because it's going to allow for rapid fire of an automatic weapon, okay? You simply just hold down the trigger and it's just boom, 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 boom. Over and over and over again until your gun is going to overheat. So this is going to be important for a number of reasons. Mostly, you can keep people out of your way. If they're trying to attack your trench, you simply set up your machine gun and just start firing. Okay? You don't even have to really aim at anything. Just going back and forth across no man's land. No one is getting through that without getting shot, allowing for great defense. Number two, an American invention, barbed wire. Now, barbed wire has a lot of different purposes. Okay? Cattle ranchers love this stuff because it keeps their cows in their field. It's really painful when you get yourself caught on it, as I can obviously tell you. But this is going to be used to protect the trenches. So as you're getting up to no man's land, okay, you're going to get up to the trench, you're going to have a series of barbed wire fences set out, and this is really just to slow anyone from getting in, because you, yes, theoretically could just run right through it, but it's going to hurt a lot, it's going to stop you, it's going to slow you down. So they're going to use these as a way of further protecting their trenches. Additionally, you can cut through this, however, you got to get there and make sure you get past the machine gun before you run into the barbed wire. New technology is going to really help defend the trenches at this time. Another one we're going to talk about is probably my personal favorite, which is the flamethrower. Now, the flamethrower is an awesome device. It simply shoots out some sort of fuel at a large high velocity that is then ignited, and then you are literally shooting fire. This is an awesome thing, allows you to clear out a massive area very, very quickly because people will be on fire and dying. One big drawback to a flamethrower, if you can see that backpack that man's wearing, that's what he's got all the fuel in. So if you were to be shot in that backpack, you explode and you are on fire yourself. So it's going to be the big drawback with a flamethrower. However, these things are allowing you to clear areas out incredibly fast. Tanks are another one that are awesome to talk about. You can see this picture right here. Would not recommend having that many men on top of a tank, but it was World War I, brand new invention, you might as well. Tanks are important because it allows you to go areas you're pretty much fortified. Okay, you can go up and over really anything. Nothing can stop you, except for dogs that are explosive, which is going to happen as well. But these tanks are going to allow you to really go wherever you would like to go. Big drawback to tanks. Number one, they're incredibly heavy, so that's going to be a problem. Number two, they're incredibly slow at this time period. They go about 3 to 4 miles an hour, which is not very good when you want to get somewhere quickly. So they do allow you to really get a lot of places. They're a lot more versatile, and you have protection. However, they really don't work that well. Okay, they're not going to work as well as they plan. Another one we're talking about is the airplane. Now, this is a Red Baron's replica of the Red Baron's airplane. These things are important because they allow you to have air-to-air combat. It allows you to see where the enemies are at. You can actually help defend your soldiers down in the trench below by having these planes. Now, think about the airplanes. Number one is the airplane's only been around for about 20 years at this time period, not even, meaning it's really not that advanced at this time period. They're hard to fly, they're hard to maneuver. They're going to make it work, but it's really not as good as it possibly could be. And finally, gas attacks, which we're going to go into right now. Now, gas attacks are important for a number of reasons, but first and foremost, it's important to understand the Hague Convention of 1889. There was a treaty that was signed which banned the use of chemical weapons. Okay, considered chemical weapons uncivilized, and thus all these countries except for 3 are going to sign this treaty, vowing to not use chemical weapons in their warfare from this point forward because they viewed them as uncivilized and they viewed themselves as greater than that. However, armies during the war are going to view these chemical weapons as a necessity. Okay, they're necessary. And this is because there's that stalemate going on. Each side has their trenches. Neither side is really advancing. People are just killing each other back and forth. The armies and the military leaders view that the use of chemical weapons could allow them to break the stalemate and allow one side to start moving forward. So they're going to really kind of just ignore this part of the treaty and move forward with something new. They're first going to be used by the French. Okay, the French are first going to use tear gas, and they're going to be the first to actually use chemical weapons in the war, but the one that everyone remembers is Germany. Okay, Germany, again, kind of getting the short end of the stick on this one, is the first to use chemical weapons on a large scale. This is going to give other countries the reason that, hey, the Germans did it first, we might as well do it as well, kind of passing out that moral blame. However, we understand from the ethics of war, this is going to be problematic right through here. Now, the first type of gas we're going to talk about is chlorine gas. Now, chlorine gas was the first one that was going to be used by the Germans on a regular basis. Okay, so the Germans are going to launch it towards the French. The French are really unaware of what's going on, and they originally think this smoke and this chlorine gas is simply a smoke screen, okay, that the German soldiers would then be coming through, so you can't see them. They can fire in and take over the trench. So as a result, French soldiers are sent up to the front lines. They get to the front lines and almost immediately they begin to suffocate and die. This is very, very traumatic for the French. They're like, what is going on right now? The Germans see this as a massive success. However, they are unable to replicate this again from this point moving forward. As a result of this, so both sides are going to form these things called special gas lines, okay? These are certain units that their sole purpose is to use these chemical weapons. They're going to blame it on the Germans simply because the Germans were the first ones to do it on a large scale. It's fun to blame the Germans at this time. Let's put all the blame on the Germans. Now, these people, what they're going to do is they're simply going to release gas from their trench and let the wind blow it and do the rest. Now, you can imagine this is going to be problematic if the wind is going to shift, which is going to happen the first time the French go and use these gas attacks. Additionally, it's important to understand in order to maintain some compliance with that treaty signed in 1899, they're not going to call it gas attacks, but instead an accessory, okay? So this is my accessory, puppy, or whatever you're doing, my gas accessory for the war. So it's not called a gas attack, but it is a gas attack. Now, tear gas is going to be the other one we're going to talk about. Tear gas is important because, number one, it is an irritant. It is not deadly. So people are going to be using this because they don't believe that it's actually a violation because it's not deadly. It just irritates you and makes you kind of uncomfortable for a while. So here's some pictures of tear gas being used back in World War I. Additionally, tear gas is still used today. This picture comes from New Year's Day 2019 at the United States-Mexico border. U.S. agents used tear gas on the immigrants trying to get into the country right here. So tear gas was around back in World War I. It is still around today. Additionally, chlorine gas is another one to talk about. Chlorine gas looks greenish gray when it comes out. It's got kind of this thick, foggy, greenish gray fog right there. It is going to destroy your lungs and your throat. It's going to go in there, irritate it, going to cause you to really asphyxiate and suffocate and die. The problem with chlorine gas is, number one, you need a lot of chlorine gas if you want it to be effective and you want it to kill people. Number two, gas masks protect against it. So you put on a gas mask, you are protected from chlorine gas. Not really effective if you're trying to use an attack and use it on other people. Next one to talk about is phosgene gas. Phosgene gas, as you can see from that elephant right there, smells like musty hay or green stuff right there. It explains what it smells like. So if you smell that, you got to get out of the way. This is a French retaliation to chlorine gas. So the French are going to make this to respond to the Germans using chlorine gas. The problem with phosgene gas, there's a number of problems. Number one is it took over 24 hours sometimes to manifest. So you might have received phosgene gas poisoning, but it's going to take you 24 hours before you actually start showing symptoms. Now, this is problematic, number one, because if you're trying to make an advance, you might have to wait a full day to get that advance. However, but could be a good thing if the other side thinks that the attack didn't actually work and they can start going against you and then stop dropping like flies. That could be the good thing with this. It is difficult to detect. It's not visible necessarily. However, it does smell like musty hay, something the French would be very well of and know what that smells like. So they could kind of pick it up at that time. The Germans would also probably know what it was like. It is problematic, though. 85% of chemical death from World War I come from this phosgene gas. Lastly, the most famous one of World War I is mustard gas. Mustard gas came about in 1917, and it was the most effective gas of the war. Now, it's going to do a lot of damage outwardly. However, it does not cause a lot of death, okay? It can kill you. However, it's not overly fatal. The problem with this, and the reason it has such a big issue, is it causes these massive blisters and yellow burns on your skin, which is going to cause intense pain and suffering. So people are going to see their loved ones go away to the war, and they come back with these massive blisters and burns from mustard gas, allowing kind of the horror stories of the trenches to come back into the cities and the countries around the world as a result of this mustard gas. Another problem with mustard gas, and it's not particularly effective because it is so heavy. It just sinks down into crevices and sinks into the trenches and can stay there sometimes up for over a year before it goes away. So yeah, you might clear the enemies out of the trench, however, you can't go and capture their trench at this time due to the heavy nature of mustard gas. That is all for now. If you have any questions, comments, please put them down below. Otherwise, good luck.